Now, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 6 of Vandals. I know it's been a little while, and that's entirely on me, but the good news is we're back. And we've got a special guest today, a cat that I've been a big fan of for a long time. He's got like Chance after him. It's impossible not to love the guy. Zellsis, baby, how you doing?
What's up, Doug? I'm doing great. I'm here in Iceland chilling.
All right, tell me a bit about that, right? Like, actually, we'll talk about that in a minute. I already got excited. I wanted to talk about Iceland. I wanted to talk about how that was going. But first, as I like to do on this show, I like to talk about you a little bit, right? I want listeners, I want fans to have an opportunity to get to know Zellsis on a bit of a deeper level, right? So why don't we start all the way at the top? Tell me about your background. When did you get into gaming? How did you get into gaming? Let's start there.
I've been gaming all my life. I started out on probably the PS1 that I can remember far back, and then just kind of escalated from there to like the Xbox, going to PC, etc.
All right, tell me, for a lot of folks, there's this transition, right? Where early on you're playing games and it's fun and it's casual, you're playing with your friends, whatever, but there's a moment, right, where you realize, hey, wait a second. I'm like pretty good at this. I can compete at a higher level. When was that moment for you? What game were you playing? Tell me a bit about that.
Well, I actually didn't find out about esports until I was like, I think I want to say like 14. I was playing Call of Duty on the Xbox 360, and then
Heck yeah,
I
dude.
my grandma bought me a laptop, and I started playing League with my friends, and it just kind of took from there. Like I started finding out more about like esports and like the scenes and such, and it started with League, and I wanted to go pro in League. I got close. I was on a challenger team. I peaked Diamond 2 before like Masters came out and such. Uh, but then it just didn't work out, and I was switched over to CS:GO. And when it gets to like being like more fun, you just kind of like want. For me, it was more like once I found out esports and everything, like it went from fun to like business, but it's also still
Yeah.
fun. You have fun
Mhm.
playing video games. So, but yeah.
Well, so tell me this. You mentioned you had a league background, which I love. What role did you play? Like, how like fully into that were you? Tell me a bit more about that, because I think that's a really dope background. And the truth is, that's not super common, right? Like, you get a lot of Valorant pros who have a CS background and an Overwatch background, or basically a shooter background. And I know you mentioned CS in between League and Valorant, but that's not super common.
Yeah. As people know, I was pro in CS before switching to Valorant,
Right,
but
right.
League is like kind of where it started for me with esports. I'm not sure. I played like ADC back when
Yeah.
it was good. And that's kind of all I played. I was like an ADC one trick. I could flex some roles, but it just it was just fun back then, and then
Yeah.
it like League just never like took off for me where
Yeah.
I wanted it to. So I ended up playing CS.
All right. Tell me about your name, Zellsis. What does it mean? Where did it come from? How'd you get here?
Zellsis I took from my older brother. There's no like I don't think there's like any story from it or anything like that. I've talked to him about it. I've asked him like he just wanted like a cool name with his friends when he was playing video games, and I was always that annoying little brother that just followed him around everywhere.
Yeah.
So when I like made my name, I just kind of took his, and that's just kind of how that went.
And it's stuck, huh? Does
Yeah,
he
it
ever
stuck.
like? Does he ever? Is there ever a conversation about how you're now a professional gamer rocking that name? And
Oh yeah. All the time he tells me he's like, "Oh yeah, the little Zellsis or whatever." Like he always fucks with me, and it's funny. We laugh about it to this day still.
so, kind of piggying back off of that a little bit. We are Zellsis, right? Like that phrase. I've used it. It's become synonymous with you. It's become like your chant. How did that come to be? What's the origin story of that?
We are Zellsis. So, as many people most know, I'm pretty toxic, especially in like ranked and shit. But nah, it just when I first switched to this game, people like I'm a competitive person,
Yeah,
so at the end of the day, like if someone like is shit talking me or like keeping me from winning or whatever, like I'm not the one to hold my tongue or whatever. Like I just want to win.
sure.
So and that includes scrims, matches, rank games, anything. Like it doesn't matter to me. So like how it originated was when I first switched, someone was shit talking to me in a rank game, and then like they asked, I had my name hidden because you can hide your name in Valorant. So I
Right.
had my name hidden, and they were asking me who I was, and I just like typed out I am Zellsis, like, and then like it just like he screenshotted it, posted on Twitter, and then it just kind of blew up, and I kind of just turned it into like this meme of like we are Zellsis because like
Yeah.
I am Zellsis, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how like I just turned it into a meme basically.
And now it's
Stuff.
become like an actual battle cry in a sense, right? Like
Yeah,
version
yeah.
one uses it, like your fans use it. It's just so funny that it came from a meme of all things. Well, Jordan, let's talk a bit about Iceland, right? Like that's what the people want to know. That's where you are right now. Generally speaking, how have things been since you've arrived? How is the team adjusting? Tell me a bit about that.
I mean, Iceland's great, man. In terms of like food, it's a beautiful place. The sun, 20 hours a day, not my cup of tea, but we got blinds and face masks for that,
Yeah.
so or eye masks, whatever they're called for that, so it's not too bad. Um, yeah, man, it's nice here. It's just the the PCs and such, not so nice. Not
Mm,
so nice. Like the internet, the
hmm.
PCs, we're playing on 60 to 150 ping. Like it
Mm,
fluctuates, so we can't get any lower than that. We've tried
hmm.
PCs. You get like 100. I think these PCs are from like 2018. Vanity was googling,
Yeah.
and you get like 150 to 200 frames. So, and obviously, as everyone knows for Valorant, you have smokes coming in,
Hmm.
mollies, flashes. Your screen's tearing and shit.
Right.
So you want to have the most max frames and ping that you can to play, and it's just it's not that great. It's
Right.
not like, yeah, but yeah. Other than
How
that, it's been good.
so I wanted to talk about this a bit later, but you've teed us up, so I want to go into this a bit now. So you mentioned, the PCs and the internet and how that's been difficult when we're just talking about version one here, right?
Yeah.
Not, I don't want to start talking about other teams yet or scrimbux or anything like that, but we're just talking about V1. How much of an impact would you say that that's having on your preparation?
Oh, I mean, for V1, we're very like momentum based. We're very
Mm,
skilled in the sense of like all our players that have high skill ceilings. So we rely on winning our individual fights a lot of the time.
mhm,
Like it's not that we don't have like any teamwork or setups or whatever. It's just what really lucks us out is that people can like get 4Ks or Ks or just hit shots that like people usually wouldn't hit, and
mhm,
it takes a performance of like internet
mhm,
or FPS and such like that to hit those shots. And right now it's just like we stopped scrimming online. Like we're only scrimming the teams here on LAN
mhm.
because it just was a waste of time for
Yeah,
us.
there's no
Like the
point.
PCs are already bad, and having high ping, it doesn't make any sense.
Mhm,
And uh we like some we were playing a little bit different because we weren't taking shots that we usually would take or fights, like
mhm,
you know what fights you take at home, but
mhm,
like when you're
mhm,
here, like, and you can't take those fights, you change it up or whatever. But now we're just screaming on the LAN servers here, and it's been better. Like we get under 10 ping and it feels nice, but obviously the PCs are still not that great, so we're just
mm.
hoping for LAN it'll be better.
Do you think, given the fact that Valorant has up until this point lived online, right? You've got to think this entire infrastructure has been built on an online setting, the ecosystem that we as fans and as competitors and as commentators that we follow. How big of a deal, in your opinion, will it be for teams who have very little LAN experience, who have no LAN experience, to make that adjustment
To like the PCs or just LAN itself?
to LAN in general?
I mean, I think a few of the teams have played on LAN already. Like, I
Mm,
think KRU have played on LAN, or I think they were playing online servers, but they played on LAN.
mhm,
And then I think the Asian regions have played on LAN. But I mean, I don't know about everyone else. Like, I think this LAN is going to be a surprise to me. Like, it's been the first LAN in a year since COVID or
yeah.
whatever, and so I think I'm not sure. I think maybe the first games will be a little bit different.
Hmm.
The nerves will be there. I think if people don't get nerves, yeah, I see this LAN as like it's gonna be interesting to see how the first games turn out.
Hmm.
Is what I'll say.
Yeah. Let's we'll come back to this in a minute. Talk to me about Jammyz, right? Common knowledge that Whippy unfortunately wasn't able to join V1. Jammyz joined, and he's traveled with the team to compete in Reykjavik. How are things going with Jammyz? How's that adaptation? How's that adjustment going?
Nah, I mean, Jammyz is great, man. To come in on like such a short notice when Whippy couldn't come, like obviously we'd want Whippy here, but it's just unfortunate circumstances.
Hmm.
And Jammyz coming in at such a short circumstance, like we're grateful to him. He's a very skilled player. Me, Vanity, and Emmy have all played with him before on East Coast, so we knew like what he was like, his personality in and outside the game. And a big thing for us is vibes, and he has really good vibes. So we just knew it was like a no brainer for us to like bring him in. And scrims have been really well, and he's been working with Emmy in and out of the server to catch up on everything.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he's just been I think he's
So one of the common things that you're hearing analysts and fans say, and we'll talk about this a bit more later on in the interview, but one of the concerns might be the right word, but one of the one of the concerns that people have had and that they've shared publicly is version 1 with the roster adjustment this late in the game. Whippy was a big deal to the way version 1 played as a team. Are you saying that's not a concern, that needs to be thrown out, and that version 1's going to be the version 1 that we all know and love?
I mean, obviously, Whippy and Jammyz are completely different players, right?
Hmm.
Or not completely different, but they are different
Sure.
players. Like they're not the same player. But at the end of the day, I think like we as a core, with player one, when we swapped him out with Whippy,
Hmm.
it was we only had like a week and a half with Whippy to practice as well, and we still
Hmm.
made Iceland.
Hmm.
Uh, so I think everyone is just I don't know. I don't agree with all the analysts and casters and everything that everyone's doing all these predictions and such. Like I think at the end of the day, this land's gonna be a surprise for
Yeah.
any team. But for version one, I think you can expect to see a little bit of the same.
Hmm.
We haven't tried to change it up. Obviously, Jammy's coming in as a stand-in. We're not gonna harp on things or
Right.
go super in depth. We're gonna just try and get a basis down and just play off each other, and we're gonna hope for the best.
Sure. Let's talk a bit about let's talk scrimbux now, right? And you mentioned you weren't scrimming anymore, but I at this point I expect that you've, even before scrimming, even before the PCs, everything. Tell me about this. Who are you most excited to play against? Who are you most looking forward to competing against?
Well, we haven't scrimmed Sentinels, Liquid, Fnatic, and I think that's it. We haven't scrimmed Sentinels, Liquid, or Fnatic here yet. I
Okay.
don't think we will.
Hmm.
So I guess like the most excited is still Liquid. Like I think a lot of people are we have a stand-in. A lot of people are underestimating us, and I think maybe like that'll catch them off guard. Like I don't think any of these teams are like that sick yet. Like
Hmm.
the game's still new, LAN
Hmm.
is still new. Especially with all these guys, I don't know how much LAN they've played or anything like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the team I'd want to play is like Liquid.
Hmm. Who would you say? And you mentioned obviously not, well, Sentinels. You've played them, so we can scratch this off that question. But when we talk about everybody else that's there at Reykjavik during scrims, and again, suboptimal conditions notwithstanding, is there a team that has stood out to you that has surprised you the most so far?
In Iceland.
Hmm.
I guess the team that mostly stood out to me is I want to say, well, when before we left for Iceland, we scrimmed through esports, and I
Hmm.
think those guys were pretty good. I think that BNJ guy is really
Hmm.
good. So I guess it'd have to be like crew esports that stood out, or
Hmm.
uh maybe like one of the Brazilian teams. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. All right. What's your opinion on the current meta? Right, like version 1 really leaned into Viper Astra, and you guys, I mean, really kind of approached it in a different way, in my opinion, not just the denial of information, but there was just so much map control that came from those two agents in particular. There's this heavy conversation about how strong they are in the current meta, and will teams that don't play Astra feel behind? Will they be behind? Are they just going to get rolled over? What's your opinion on that? Viper, Astra, the current meta, are teams that don't play those two agents, are they going to be behind?
I definitely think if you don't play Astra and Viper, especially right now, I think you are just dumb. Like
Hmm.
Viper got Viper got insanely buffed, and even with the nerf, the 50 damage to 30 damage on her wall,
Mm-hmm.
it's still insane. You
Hmm.
know, especially on like pistols and stuff. If you buy half armor, your armor is gone, and you're like you're a headshot away on any
Hmm.
pistol. Like it's just you can't run through it, and if you do run through it, it's gonna be easy to multi kill. And I think a lot of people were saying that we abuse the meta. Of course, we abuse the meta. This is a Riot game. Like if Riot's gonna change the agents up and down frequently. They're gonna buff things. They're gonna nerf things, and they're
Hmm.
gonna make things broken. Like you have to adapt to every
Hmm.
meta. And we used to think Astra was horrible. Like we did not want to play Astra, and then we started playing Astra. We started playing Viper when it was buffed, and it obviously look at us. We're in Iceland. They're not.
Right.
So if you don't play Astra and Viper, I just think you're falling behind already. Like
And
there's some teams here that we scrim, they don't play Astra, we just run them over.
yeah.
Like
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that too, because you think about, and this happens in the League of Legends space a lot, and really across global tournaments. You put teams in a over a longer period of time in a controlled environment, and you see a meta emerge, right? You see it evolve, and that becomes the optimal way to play. And teams either have set that pace, or they're scrambling to catch up to that pace and adapt that meta because they understand that that's the best and strongest way to play the game across the board. I think the interesting thing for version 1 that people don't talk about very often is, if you've been following along with this team, you guys have that in your DNA, right? Like, think about back when the Bucky was a huge deal, right? Like, the Bucky was really strong, and the Bucky became synonymous with version 1 in a lot of ways. So you guys lean into, and you're able to adapt very quickly to what is the most optimal way to play the game at any given point in time.
yeah. Yeah, I think that comes a lot with like I mean shout out to Vanity as well. Like
Mm,
he went from playing Brim to Omen, from playing Omen to Astra in like a small space. And I
yeah.
think with Astra you need to be able to it takes a lot of like communication and just like game knowledge. Like you need to be able to know when to put your orbs down, what to use, suck, stun, smoke, etc. And your teammates need to have the communication. But I think for our team in general, like we all play the game a lot. So and I think with this game you have to like you
Yeah.
can't just sit back and only scrim. You're not gonna learn anything. You're not gonna know like what's good, what's not, what angles, etc. Like you
Hmm.
need to play a shit ton of ranked.
Mm.
So I think that's just like a good thing that we do is like we play the game a lot. We test things out. We try things. And I think everyone needs to do that in this game, especially.
Yeah. All right. Tell me this. What is the biggest misunderstanding or the biggest misconception that the people, and when I say the people, I mean spectators, uh, analysts, Reddit pundits, talent, across the board, the people, what's the biggest misunderstanding people have of version 1 going into this tournament?
Uh, Biggest misunderstanding for us going into this tournament is it sucks. It sucks to have a stand-in, but I think the biggest misunderstanding is like people are just kind of like ruling us out already.
Hmm.
Like not many people have been like we have a lot of like support and stuff when we made Iceland with Max Whippy, but
Hmm.
then like coming in like people are just like ruling us out completely, and it makes no sense because I don't know, I don't think any of these teams are good.
Hmm.
And like Jammyz is good, nothing's going to change on our end, like we're still going to have the core and how we play and everything,
Yeah.
and I don't think anything changes.
Hmm. All right, let's go a step further here, Jordan. What's the biggest misunderstanding people have of Zellsis in particular going into this tournament?
Biggest misunderstanding people have of Zellsis. uh Biggest misunderstanding people have of Zellsis.
I can hear you grinning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking of what to say because like I don't know. I have this like stream persona where I'm like super toxic and ranked and shit, and I am toxic. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not a saint by any means. Like I'm an honest guy. I'll keep it 100 all the time. But at the end of the day, I don't think I'm like a bad guy. Like if someone needs something or
Mm.
like if someone, I don't know. I don't think I'm like a bad guy at the end of the day. And I think a lot of people think I am. And like they can keep thinking that. Like I'm not gonna change what I'm doing. I'm gonna keep doing me. But uh and like with my team and stuff, like I'm not very toxic in my team. And you can ask any of them that I'm super hyped in matches. I constantly scream. I just act like an idiot, you know, and it's just I just think that's like the biggest misunderstanding.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I'd have to say for that question at least.
All right. Masters 2, first international LAN, first international competition. How much would a win at Reykjavik mean to you?
Oh man, a win here, like the first international LAN in
Mm.
Iceland with Valorant, like a win would be huge. Like if we won this event, like I don't know. I honestly have no words. I don't know what I would I'd probably run around with my shirt off outside or something. Like the win, like it's already like unreal that like it felt amazing and unreal that we made Iceland,
Mm.
and like to win Iceland, that would be like a whole new level of I don't even know a word to describe it.
Hmm. All right, Jordan, give me any shout outs, any closing thoughts, any people you want to give some love to before we wrap.
I just want to shout out like the fans that keep supporting us. Like you guys are awesome. I want to shout out version 1. The org is great. They take really good care of us. Shout out my teammates. Shout out Imi, our coach. Shout out Jake, our GM,
Reppin',
and
baby.
reppin. Shout out reppin. And then that's it. That's all I'd shout out.
Jordan, thank you so much for hanging out. And folks who are watching on YouTube, thank you so much for taking a look at it. Give any feedback, right? If there's any feedback you have on the show, we unfortunately, because of tech situations, couldn't get Zellsis's handsome mug on the camera, but that's something we normally like to do. And if you have any other feedback or any suggestions on who you'd like to see next on the show, let me know in the comments below. And then, of course, if you do appreciate the content, I ask that you please support the channel by liking, subscribing, commenting, all of the ings that you can possibly do to support the channel. But thank you so much to all of you for tuning in, hanging out. We'll see you next time.